Welcome to the Influencers in Accounting podcast with me, Rob Brown. On behalf of the Accounting Influencers Podcast Network, 5 shows going out every day of the working week. And this is our special deep dive where we bring on a special guest, somebody that's an expert in various fields and a true accounting bookkeeping influencer. I'm thrilled to have with me today, Kate Johnson. It's 5 a.m. Kate, good day to you.
Yes. Good morning, folks. I put on a little lipstick. I hope I look okay.
You're looking great for this time in the morning. Kudos to you for making it. Kate, for people that haven't come across you, tell us a little bit about you and your world.
All right. My world, I wear 2 hats. So I run a small lifestyle bookkeeping business, serving clients, deliberately small. Kind of grew that as after not working for a while. And then as my children were kind of entering preschool, now they're in elementary school, but still small. As I grew my business, I kind of started to build in public, I would say, but I kept my 2 lives separate. And I also run a community that's, I guess the title is the Bookkeeping Side Hustle Community. It's sort of nothing super official, but it's very big. And as I've sort of openly shared the challenges and successes and thrills and disappointments I've had growing my business, and I share those with others, I've been able to just kind of be an example of like one way that someone like me who likes accounting sees that, there's lots of different ways, if you know your debits and credits, that you can build a business, a way to make money, a way to support your family with the accounting industry. I would say I'm very non-traditional about it, but it all kind of revolves around accounting. So the bookkeeping side hustle part of my life is the other part that I love and cherish, and have really been able to help encourage people who maybe just needed a little bit of a boost or a little bit of oh yeah, I could do that and I don't have to be miserable anymore. Not that it's going to be easy, but it's a more fulfilling type of hard than maybe what their current job is.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Thank you for that. And when we talk about accounting influencers, traditionally we position that as people that sell to and through accountants that are not necessarily accountants. So if you look at our roundtable kit, we have something called AIR, the Accounting Influencers Roundtable. And if people go to accountinginfluencers.com, there's a test that they can take on there to get a score of their influence. And we've traditionally described that community as vendors, coaches, consultants, trainers that are helping accountants, CPAs, bookkeepers to do the things that they do, selling them software, selling them fintech, being those providers, advisors, suppliers. But increasingly, we're seeing people come up through the ranks that are accounting influencers, that are accountants. They are CPAs, they are qualified bookkeepers, and they want to go beyond running a firm, running a side hustle, running a bookkeeping or accounting business, and influence the accounting bookkeeping community to do better, be better. And you're a very good example of that. Talk to us a little bit about that day when you thought, I want to go beyond doing this to teaching people, helping them to do it.
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't intentional. I came at my business from a personal finance perspective. So I was very interested in personal finance. I almost wanted to become maybe like a personal finance coach, help people get out of debt, that sort of thing. And I did a little bit of that in church. I was a volunteer at the jail. And I was like, I know numbers, I can and that's how I got here. And I learned how to be a bookkeeper. But as I did that, I'm in these personal finance groups, and other people are asking, like, how can I increase my income? And I answered, hey, well, I've started to serve a small group of clients while my kids are really little as a virtual bookkeeper. And they're like, well, I know accounting, or I've used QuickBooks before. And that group, that discussion in a personal finance group kind of spawned into this Facebook group that, unintentionally, that I just thought I was going to help a small group of people answer questions. I personally I feel good at night about being an influencer, quote unquote, but also like having myself out there in the trenches, building something. I think that's what has drawn people to me. So you don't have to do that if you want to be kind of a thought leader, but for me, it's how I get my most influential stuff, is because I just suffered through it or had the thrill of it last week, and I'm telling people about it, and highs and lows, sharing those, great clients, not so good clients, breaking up with clients, all those things that maybe I could be able to coach stuff through. I'm coaching people through it by going through it and living it. So it's just a personal choice for me. I'm actually, even in 2022, I'm putting more effort into growing my actual business. I'm trying to do some really creative things that in my bookkeeping business that other, traditional maybe bookkeeping and accounting firms wouldn't be doing. And so I'm like, I would say I'm even putting more effort into that, and it's giving me even more influence.
Sure. And you're being what business people call accountants and bookkeepers to be, which is entrepreneurial. Think more like a business owner. Think more like an entrepreneur, so you can relate to my world and speak my language and talk into my problems.
That's what I try to share. Like, I want people to, there's so many different avenues that you can take in this industry and like successfully make money. If you start to think like a business owner. I have an example of, I had this favorite podcast where someone interviewed two people who own a cleaning company, and one was like a solopreneur house cleaner, and then one had built a cleaning agency, and it was like a showdown. And I thought, like, if all accountants listened to this and just substituted the word accounting every time they said house cleaner, it would change lives, because it just talked about the different ways, and both of these men were successful. But you don't have to, like, they both approached it from different angles, were very entrepreneurial instead of, oh, I just do my trade. That's just one example of how once my mind switched to thinking like a business owner, which I did not grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur. Like, I've had to learn these skills, but that's the part that I've enjoyed most. Like, how do I just be good at business? Oh, my business happens to be as an accounting professional.
It speaks volumes to the nature of accounting, bookkeeping in its advisory capacity, that we're not just doing the compliance stuff and checks and balances and double entry bookkeeping. There's a whole lot more to it now. And we're going to deep dive in this episode around diversifying accounting revenue streams. This is a subject really close to your heart. So
yes.
Where would we start with that? Just set all of that up for us, Kate.
So gosh, where to start? Probably what you love best and are best at. And if it doesn't have anything to do with accounting, that's fine. So don't, I can live. So I've made money via an ebook. I have a monthly membership for clients. I have vendor referral links that I have tried to be thoughtful about how to use. I have a monetized YouTube channel. I write a newsletter that has sponsorships. I have, the newsletter I like to write. I think I'm good at it. I write long newsletters, and I don't care that people these days don't read. Sometimes enough people do, and I've been able to sell ads to it. So like that's a perfect example of, I'm going to do what I like, and if I can do it excellently, it hopefully will work out. So I think starting with maybe what you're already good at, and then just trying to layer it on top of what you're doing is probably the best way to do it. So be creative, and don't think that there is like a yes or no bucket. Like, make your yes, and say to heck with the fact that no other accountants are doing this. If you put your effort into it, I mean, it's a way to be entrepreneurial and figure it out. Some of y'all could probably build a software, or have someone in your life who could build a software but doesn't know about accounting, so y'all could partner up. I'm thinking about that in about 4 years when my husband retires from the military. That's kind of like my next like big dream, is like, oh my gosh, could I also do, MRR, software as a service, kind of a product for, a little niche accounting problem that I'm encountering, and maybe have my husband help, build that or guide that, because he's likes coding. So
yeah, what I'm taking from that as we kick this off is that you've got to start with something core. So if you're an employed accountant or bookkeeper, you're working for someone else, then this might start as a side hustle. We had Yuri Kapilovich, a CPA out of New Jersey, on the show recently, who said that he worked for a top 4 firm and then went to another 7 firms to try and get the kind of work-life balance with his wife and young child that he needed. And he started a side hustle to cover his health insurance, and thought, well, if I can make $24,000 a year and cover my health insurance, then I've got something I can move into.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at something that's core and build a business around that and get that right. Then I guess you can start diversifying, can't you?
I think that's a great way to look at it. You can almost think of your job as one like pillar in diversification until you can get away from that, and maybe not. Like, maybe You know, if you wanted to build an accounting software, like that might be hard, that might be a long road, like perhaps you need to keep the job. Everyone's just think about it from your entire family perspective. Don't replace one bit of misery with another. That's I see that some. So try to identify where you have the best chance of success. Move the boat closer to the dock. Like you don't have to do don't go into software development maybe if you have no connection, or don't try to like start writing a newsletter if you don't have or you know, getting new sponsorships if you don't have a list of readers yet. So keep getting the boat closer to the dock though, so you can say now it's time to make that another pillar of a revenue stream for me.
I know we're seeing, and you'll be closer to this than me, given the great resignation, we're coming out of the pandemic now, people are getting disillusioned perhaps with corporate life and that 9 to 5 and going into the office every day. It is much easier now to start a side hustle or start doing your own thing or think a little bit more entrepreneurial and coming out of that straitjacket, if you like, of I'm a CPA, I'm a bookkeeper, I'm an accountant.
Yes. I guess my caution is that I'm seeing a lot of people, you know, because of the great resignation, and not just in the accounting industry, have moved into entrepreneurship. I think there's a reason why, like historically in America or in Europe, like most people are not entrepreneurs, right? Like the balance is, you know, it's wildly leans toward people being employees. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
but
it's safe and secure, isn't it? You get some health benefits, you get a pension, whatever it is, holiday pay.
I just fear that people don't understand how hard it is. And so like just mentally prepare for entrepreneurship to be difficult. You're going to have ups and downs. You have to have a support network of some kind. Because your family, your parents, all these people who love you, your friends, like they're not going to understand it. So getting in a good support network of other people doing what you're doing, that's why I think the bookkeeping side hustle community has thrived so much. But I'd be lying if I said that everyone who has like tried to do this has succeeded. Sometimes it's better to find something, at least for a season of life, maybe part-time virtual working for someone else as a way to, you know, to diversify your family revenue streams. Like you can have a side hustle without being an entrepreneur potentially. So I don't know. That's one of the things I fear. There's so many messages out there that it's like, start your own thing and make a bunch of money. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is whenever like your email system stops working? Like
the entrepreneurial mindset, I'm one myself, is quite unique because you take everything on yourself. You are the bottleneck, you are the visionary, you are the person that does it all. And it's very different to being employed in that safe environment with the structure that you have and the people around you that you have and the support that you have. So when we're talking about diversifying revenue streams, this episode is probably better titled being an entrepreneurial bookkeeper and accountant, because we're saying it's not just your 9 to 5 job. There are lots of other opportunities out there.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm happy to dive into my diverse revenue streams. I'm interested in asking you. You said you've hit those bottlenecks. In a way, I'm guessing that's part of the reason what the accounting influencers group that you have created is. I mean, you've somehow created potentially like a group of people that you know you need to be around, that's going to motivate you, that you're going to get ideas from, because otherwise if you're not looking up and talking to other people trying to build a business, you're going to stay in that bottleneck. How have you overcome your bottlenecks that you've faced as an entrepreneur?
How dare you ask me a question on my own podcast? That's outrageous. Well, speaking into that by way of an answer, we're doing a series right now with leaders, female leaders in prominent and influential positions in the accounting world. So we had one of these yesterday. So managing partners of large firms, leaders of professional associations and networks, and asking all of them succeeding in what is predominantly a man's world, certainly in the CPA accounting space. Although there are more female accountants out there, there are more males represented in leadership roles and senior roles. Right. And they said what you were saying there is to build a network. Eric Rutter said, you've got to do it by yourself, but you can't do it alone. So right. in being the bottleneck, kind of answering your question, when you're an entrepreneur, you soon find that there are lots and lots of things that need doing that you either can't do or don't want to do by yourself. And so speaking to Harvey Mackay's quote, who wrote Swim with the Sharks, he said, dig your well before you're thirsty.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if you're an employed bookkeeper or CPA, or you're doing something and you want to do something on the side, or you want to bring in some of the revenue streams, in order not to be the bottleneck, you must start to build your network and your assets and your allies and your champions and signpost things, so you've got that network for when you need it.
I think that's a great idea. I'd love to share a quick example. So for me, my personality is as a teacher. Like, I helped be a TA in grad school and undergrad. I like teaching. So that's one of the approaches I'm taking with my accounting business, my bookkeeping business. Can I kind of teach people? And so that's where the genesis of my weekly office hours for FreshBooks users has come. That's going to be kind of like my niche. I want to niche in a software for, it's a general ledger software that's kind of new and up and coming. I want to be the best at it and create YouTube tutorials and all that. But my favorite hour of the week is when my group members come and get their questions answered live, and I'm teaching live and I'm in the hot seat. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I have to get back to you, but I like teaching, but I don't know everything. And so just yesterday was my first time I'm bringing on a guest expert. I want to do it once a month. And this woman came and talked about how to legally pay your children. So it's in America. So I don't know how it is the rest of the world, but there's probably something similar, like a little tax benefit to being an entrepreneur. And I knew she had a presentation, a big one. I asked her, can you cut it and give me 10 minutes? Perhaps some of my group members will buy her full course.
Yeah.
But it's planting a seed because I love teaching, but I wasn't the best person to teach on it. But I have this network of ways that I've worked with this woman. I knew what she was good at. And we created like a win-win support for each other. And, we just made a bunch of people's lives better because we planted the seed of like, oh my gosh, can you start paying your children and reduce your taxes and let them see what entrepreneurship is like? I mean, and just the growth, the fallout of that, I'm hopeful is going to be years to come just from this one little 10-minute session. And then we got back to our regular office hours questions. But I have 2 other people lined up. I'm planning on doing the rest. I'm planning on keeping going because I thought it was great. But that's because I had a network. I wasn't behind my computer clicking in a software, doing the debits and credits all day long. Like, I had my head up and I'm looking for ways to be different.
That's great. And these days you can network at a computer. You can network with a mobile phone. We are in a mobile and always on world. We don't have to go to networking mixers and work the room anymore.
Yeah, she's from
great.
Minnesota. I've never met her, but I know her. I have a relationship with her.
Talk to us, Kate, about building a following, building a community, because if you are thinking of doing something other than what you're doing, you need to start with some kind of fan base or community or prospect list or pipeline, whatever you want to call it. You've got 20,000 in your Facebook group, but that doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No, I mean, it takes a lot of work. You can't let it be a distraction from because, social media can kind of suck you in. I found the best advice I have was I was vulnerable. I think people can smell a rat. There's a whole lot of other, bookkeeping business influencers. I'm not really trying to sell stuff to anyone. I don't have like a course to sell. I have a nerdy accounting mouse pad with the T accounts on it that some people buy in it, but that's just for fun. So I have just been very transparent. And whenever I have done anything that's like benefited me, like people know that my newsletter is sponsored, or if I have an affiliate link for something, I always disclose that. And then I'm just like, don't try to pretend like everything's roses. And I think people will be like, wow, this is someone I want to listen to. Someone that's helpful. Being helpful is a whole lot better than, or being genuinely helpful is a whole lot better than trying to show off somehow or sell some like magic pill. That's what I would say. I think that's why it's grown so much. I think it's the best bookkeeping Facebook group on the internet. And
of course, you're not biased at all with that, are you?
Well, it's because they're helping each other. So that's how I think, like when you don't have to be in there and people are answering each other's questions, and when people are reporting people who are mean and kind of not abiding by the culture, which happens to me all the time. And then I have to go in and say, hey, like act right or you're out. Like this is whatever your culture that you're trying to create is, it's kind of going on its own. And I'm not the linchpin necessarily. I'm more of the manager. And I think it's, it's been 4 years of great work, but it's not been work necessarily.
Sure. And speaking about the bookkeeping side of things, we hear stories about how shall I put this, the minimalization of the CPA accreditation, or the chartered accountants, as we call them here in the UK. Martin Bissett, my co-host, and I have had stories about businesses that have chosen certified bookkeepers that are accredited with certain software, but they're not qualified CPAs or accountants to do their accounts, because bookkeepers are so versatile now, and a lot of the software and automation allows them to do a lot of the compliance. Are you seeing that a lot in your world, hence the bookkeeping community growing?
Oh, 100%. I mean, as long as you know like accounting fundamentals, which sometimes I think tax preparers who have those initials after their name
Yes.
have maybe forgotten. Like I wouldn't don't ask a CPA if you're an e-commerce company to help you with your books, because they will be a wreck. You need like a software expert. You need a person who knows how the the merchant processing fees get pushed in to your general ledger, and like that's like a technical skill set that you can make a lot of money if you can niche in how to serve people who have complex bookkeeping needs, whether because it's the volume of transactions or maybe a volume of clients, or just a little bit more than like those service-based industries, which are pretty simple. But we're seeing more and more people who are doing kind of, selling online and stuff like that. And I wouldn't want a CPA who does bookkeeping for their clients like once a year via like jamming in some journal entries. I wouldn't want them doing my business books if I had a business like that. So
Yeah, and there's
yes,
a message
100.
there. There's a message there for both accountants and bookkeepers. Accountants have got to raise their game, because the automation and the compliance space and the bookkeeping space is being taken up by really clever people that have mastered the technology in a way that the accountants haven't. And the bookkeepers have also got to step up, because there's a whole tranche of business out there that traditionally the accountant will have held, but the bookkeeper can be taken over and actually serving those clients better.
Yeah, and if you can find a way to make partnerships, I see that happen. Be thoughtful about like how you can like grow your business in a great way, and like serving your customer is always the most important thing. Like we want to do well by these customers. So if you're a CPA that hasn't done software integrations with the general ledger before, like don't start on your own. You're going to wreck it. You're going to import like twice the you're going to import duplicates or something like that, where it's going to really wreck things. You have to find someone who you can partner with, and I think there's a lot of room for growth like that. I'm seeing that a lot.
Kate, this has been great. Time's gone so quickly. We'll put your contact details in our show notes. Leave us, would you, with some words of inspiration for people out there that want to try something a little bit different. They want to perhaps bring in some more money in these tough times. Energy bills are going up, fuel bills are going up. There's all kinds of things. The economy's suffering, recession's coming up. They're looking at a side hustle. They may have an employed job, or they may just have always dreamed of doing something themselves. If they want to be more entrepreneurial, what would you say to them in getting started?
So for me, I listen to business podcasts. So that's my best advice. I have one that I listen to called the $100 MBA Show by a guy named Omar Zenhom. There's a great show I started listening to called Two Bobs, which is for creatives.
Love that one.
But yeah, I mean, so if you Google like accounting podcasts, that's not going to come up, right? It's for like creative agency owners. But I'm getting so much about how to work with find good clients and get rid of bad clients, and what your website should say. And like, that's the stuff that we need to know. We can learn the technical stuff. We can remember how to do a complex payroll journal entry or whatever. To learn about how to run a business, I think is what we didn't learn in school. And so that's my best advice. And I basically just substitute the word, bookkeeping or accounting whenever I'm listening to something. And like, how can this apply to me? And I'm like finding money under all these rocks that no one else is looking at.
That's great. There is a whole world out there for
Yes.
people that feel straitjacketed into a compliance role, a bookkeeping or accounting or CPA. There's a lot more out there if you can think a bit more entrepreneurially. And of course, a little bit of courage will help, Kate, wouldn't it?
Yes. And support from friends. Call me if you need to. I'm here. I'm like the world's best cheerleader for helping accounting professionals. So I'm happy to say, yes, you can do it. Tell me where you're feeling weaknesses, and I can give you my best advice. I love to help people take those brave steps, get that courage.
Well, Kate Johnson, that's been wonderful. Thank you so much for your passion and your insights today.
Yes, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.